Hi everyone, welcome back to Active Self-Protection Extra here in Casa de Korea with Terry Johnson, my friend from Firearms Legal Protection. And today we are going to talk about a badge cam that was on the channel not long ago with a real serious, disturbed young man who ended up shooting a shotgun at officers. But what I want to talk about today is culpability of parents when their underage children have access to firearms.
Now more than ever, you need trusted coverage to help you win the fight after the fight. The company I trust and recommend is Firearms Legal Protection. They offer discounts on all their plans at the link in the description. I recommend the premium plan.
So obviously you go watch that cam. This kid was a teenager, an absolute scumbag. I mean, no question about it. Comes out shooting at cops. You know, they were after him because he had stabbed somebody else. I mean,
it slit someone's throat too, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, just an
horrible.
absolute terrible human being. So, but he had access to this pistol-gripped shotgun, and so, you know, we also see that it was a big discussion, Terry, in Kenosha because of Kyle Rittenhouse. Now,
yes,
what we found out later was that wasn't his parents didn't have that gun. It was out. It was always in
Isn't
Wisconsin.
it amazing what happens when people wait for the facts to come out and stop speculating?
72-hour rule in effect. Yeah. But, you know, so that one didn't come in there, but it definitely has come into the public consciousness. So as a parent, if you have a child, now an underage child in particular, so you say somebody 17 and under, that gets access to a firearm and does something egregiously ugly with it, like this teenager did, how much culpability do mom and dad have in that?
A tremendous amount. Let me give you a couple of examples, and I'll start younger and move up.
Okay.
You know, there have been cases of parents, you know, women in particular, that off-body carry and leave their firearm in their purse or something. And there have been kids as young as 2 years old, toddlers, who've actually gone in there and gotten the gun, and some bad things have happened. They are charged. You know, if something happens to the child, it could be manslaughter.
Yep.
You know, you're not just going to say, "Oh my God, I didn't expect this to happen," and the prosecutor is going to say, "Sure, you did. That's why you did what you did."
Right.
You should have known.
Yeah.
Known or should have known. As you move up, and we always have this conversation about, you know, children and access to guns. You know, we've got a very good friend who's a prosecutor who wanted to take a concealed handgun class with me, and here's the interesting thing.
Concealed handgun instructor in Michigan.
Yeah, don't tell anybody though, it'll be our secret. This is what she told me. She said, well, I don't want him to know, and her son is 16, I don't want him to know that we have a gun in the house. And my question is, well, why? Why are we teaching kids to be afraid of things? And, you know, again, you gotta take your kids as you find them, and what do I mean by that? You know, if you've got maybe your 15-year-old is very responsible, you know your 15-year-old is going to do the right thing. Maybe your 16-year-old is not responsible.
Yeah.
And maybe it's like, you know, I can't trust them with X, Y, and Z. That's a decision you're going to have to make within your household. And, you know, some people lock up all of their firearms, others don't, okay? It depends on your household, your children, but if anything happens, you are responsible. And again, I can tell you, if your kid were to take a gun to school and that firearm is registered to you, or the rifle or long gun, whatever, you become responsible because, again, even if it's not registered to you, these are your kids.
What is this registered you speak of?
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. You know,
I live in free America.
Yeah, the rest of the world, other than Michigan, you know, you have to register handguns. That's a whole nother conversation. Pray for us. You know, we have some crazy laws in that state, but.
So, but again, you have a child takes one of your guns to school. Even if there's not a wrong that happens with it, we probably have some kind of a crime that's been committed by that child.
It is kids, you know, the mentality of prosecutors are kids and guns don't go together. You know, with COVID, there's a lot of remote learning.
Yeah.
Okay. And one kid had like a BB gun or something, and they tried to ban him from remote learning, even though the BB gun was in his own house. Yeah.
Insane.
So again, you have to be very conscious of that. And, you know, I would strongly recommend, you know, again, this is me, teach your kids what firearms are, what other weapons you have in the home, from the mere standpoint of they may have to protect themselves or even you one day if someone breaks in.
But to me, it's common sense again, because again, when my kids are little, I keep the bleach cabinet locked up so that my kids who aren't smart enough not to drink bleach at 4 years old don't pour it all over their head and hurt themselves or hurt somebody else. Same thing, my children, I have 4 kids. My kids were all raised around firearms. They all had, went hunting with me, shooting with me. That said, they all got locked up in the safe because I realized that 8, 9, 10, 12, 15-year-old kids can do really stupid stuff.
Yeah, and you know what? You mentioned we're here in your house. You know what I did notice in your house?
What?
Outlet plugs, that you cover.
Yeah, that's true. Because my kids are older. My kids are older.
Your kids are older, and they know not to do this. They know the consequences of what they do.
Yes. So my youngest is 15, and if my 15 or 18-year-old who still live at home sticks a fork in an outlet, well, then the consequences of their behavior will be their teacher.
Exactly. But you can't do that with a firearm.
Can't do that with a firearm. You just cannot do that with a firearm. And so I think that, sometimes what we don't recognize, well, my kids would never.
Well, but, let me say this. Having done criminal defense for many, many years, one of the biggest problems I see is what I call helicopter parents. You know what those are?
Yeah, they hover.
They hover all around, and when I've had to represent kids that are anywhere from 16 to literally 32 years old, their mothers or fathers are the ones making the decisions. They want me to talk to their parents. I'm like, no, you have to answer to this. And here's the other thing you have to think about as well. Not only could your kids get charged, think about it from this situation. We never talk about what happens if your child has to defend someone. If someone were to break into your home.
It's true.
Or they had to defend themselves. And you know what? They could potentially be prosecuted the exact same way you could. And again, I'll just say this real briefly, we do cover minor children at Firearms Legal Protection. If there's a situation where your 17-year-old or younger had to use a weapon to defend themselves or others, we would cover them just like we would you.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't do that. And here's the thing, because we know and understand that kids learn how to protect themselves and others, and they're going to come to you. Something were to happen right now, I would expect your kids to come to your rescue. Why should they have to suffer, the high cost of prosecution and the embarrassment of doing what is morally and legally right by protecting their parents?
So I do want to ask, though, this question. So we had this teen in this home who got a hold of a shotgun, shot at cops with it. And from everything that I've seen in the story, the sheriff of the county in Nevada where this one was said that mom was entirely cooperative, was devastated and heartbroken at the actions of her child. And again, I know great parents whose kids have gone completely astray. So I'm not saying she's a bad parent at all. But is she responsible for that child? Legally, is she going to be held accountable for this kid who was killed in this, shooting at the cops?
Well, again, let's look at this. One, I think he was 19, so she may not be legally responsible for him. However, she could be charged as an accessory. If she was, let's say, hiding him, maybe she was concealing evidence about him, maybe even potentially harboring a fugitive.
If she knew about it and those kinds of things.
Yeah, but here's the thing, as a parent, sometimes your kids put you in a very difficult position. I believe the parent in that case should have, said, Junior, come with me, I'm going to hold your hand, and I hate to use that terminology, but I'm going to walk you out, because if I'm holding your hand...
It ain't holding a gun.
No, you're not holding a gun, and I'm here with you, and it's going to show support.
Right.
We tend to show support, unfortunately, to bad behavior and bad actions, and that comes back to haunt the kid more than anything else.
Yeah, I think it's an unfortunate truth. So my reminder to all of us as well is to make sure that your firearms are protected against unauthorized access. And you've seen this on the channel many times. I talk about safe storage. You know that in my family we've had mental health issues, so the guns stay locked up. And in quick access ways that we can get a hold of them. We can, bring defensive force to bear if we need to,
right,
but in a safe manner so that unauthorized people don't have access. And mom and dad, think about the fact if your child is not mentally, emotionally ready in order to handle the responsibility of deadly force, then you got to keep the guns away from them, or you could be held accountable for it too. Terry, appreciate the knowledge, man.
Thank you.